I'd like to call the Germantown School District Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting on August 12th, 2024 to order at 4:30 p.m. Roll call. Medved.
Here.
Loth.
Here.
Pollack is here. Item number 3, agenda revisions and approval. I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
Medved with the motion, Loth with the second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, the approval of the minutes from May 6th, 2024.
Move to approve the minutes of May 6th, 2024.
Second.
Loth with the motion, Medved with the second. I do want to point out, though, at the top, it says May 8th, so I'm going to need an amendment to that. It should be May 6th.
Good catch.
If you amend, I'll second.
Move to amend the date to May 6th.
And I'll second.
Okay. Loth with the amendment, Medved with the second. We'll vote on the amendment first. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amendment carries. Going back to the original motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Going to item number 5, reports and updates. A, long-range facility planning.
Yes.
Mr. Lord.
Ooh, thank you. Thank you very much. So bringing this back from our May 6th Buildings and Grounds Committee meeting, the long-range facility plan, we have the RFP out seeking qualified firms for a comprehensive facility conditions assessment and moving forward facilities master planning services if so needed. The RFP was sent out to 8 firms. Tour was given to 4 of them, and we had 3 firms submit proposals. We had interviewed the firms last week, the 5th and 6th, and now we're entering the selection and recommendation portion of the process. We did have a secondary asking for examples of their current facilities conditions assessments that they've done for comparable school districts of, excuse me, much like ours, as well as some cost factors. Again, just getting the apples to apples. If we want this, what will that cost us as a lump sum, all inclusive? So we're in that right now. The intent was to bring the final firm to the committee last week and to the board meeting this month, but just due to the process of getting to this point, everything is offset by that 1 week, or in a case, 1 board meeting or committee meeting's worth to the following month. But as of right now, the 3 candidates that we do have, or firms I should say, we are looking positive in working with them, or either one of them. But we're just gonna break down on what is best for the district, so. Do you want that? Yeah.
So I was able to sit in on both of those sessions, and I would agree with Frank. They're both in a position where I think for what we're looking for in the very short term, as far as identification of what we may, what their recommendations would be, that we add to our list. I'm confident in either firm ultimately. To just piggyback off of what Frank said, what we're really looking for is the beginning of a plan. This isn't this isn't something that we're going to take on these huge projects necessarily, unless there's items that rise quickly to the top that are true problems. But it is meant as basically a step 1 in the process to go, what should our priorities be for the next 10 years? And personally, I think it was good timing on the district's part to take a look at this, to invest a little bit of money in this beginning phase, especially since we're a handful of years or so out of all the referendum work.
Yeah, I think from sitting in, both groups did a great job of presenting how they go to a current state analysis as we're coming years out of the referendum now. The main priority for our group when we talked with them and shared our RFPs and then their proposals or their plans were really about where are we now, what is the long-term needs of each of our facilities, our buildings and sites, and then what could be possible action steps, not right away, but down the road, as well as what could be short-term if there is a current need that we're unaware of when it comes to infrastructure in our building. So both groups, though different in presentation styles and how they approach things, had a lot of good information for us to revisit. So Frank, Brittany, and I are going to discuss this week kind of a pros and cons to each group, and then as Frank has outlined, a revised timeline to come forward to you as a group to share what we learned and what we would recommend to you as a board, and any further information you would need as a committee then to bring to the full board.
And two things. One thing I forgot to mention is the fact that what I, especially in the second interview, they asked questions specifically of me, and as far as what's important, and one of the things I did share with them is communication and transparency. It really doesn't make any difference where we are in the overall process, even though we're very early in just identification of a list is basically the way I think about it. Any opportunity with whoever we move forward with, we're going to ask them to, not necessarily every month, but do some sort of communication for the committee, if not the board, and ultimately with the community, depending on exactly what we may find out of this. The other thing, just to point out, I think actually it was mentioned, the overall time frame that was presented a couple months back really doesn't shift too much, and especially since this is an information gathering piece. You know, a week here or there, as far as getting the information back, does not impact the overall project itself. Any questions from the committee or other board members? Okay.
So, Dr. Reuter, as far as we're going forward with the long-term range facilities plan, you know, that kind of dovetails into a strategic plan as we move forward. And this seems to be kind of a logical jumping off point, see what our facilities are, the state and their capabilities, kind of where that's the goal with this.
Yeah, this
initial planning
you know, as
stage.
I'll be sharing in September to the full board some updates about a possible movement as a school district to think about strategic planning and what that could look like. This would be most likely a key aspect around community and a strategic plan to have long-term goals in the district that would give us, as I mentioned, the current state analysis of our physical structures and our sites and what we want to look towards down the road to improve or upgrade, whether that's through our 5-year capital plan or bigger projects, but that allows us to set that vision of where we're going from a physical standpoint as a school district to make us a desirable district to keep quality, talented professionals, as well as attract students and families to the community, as well as helps us understand too from in hopeful continued work with the village on future expansion, where we have the capabilities to expand and where we might be limited, so that we can partner and have a good line of communication there in order to be on the same page when it comes to the growth of Germantown.
Absolutely, thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Okay, we'll move on to 5B, Buildings and Grounds Project Report, Summer Projects Update. Mr. Lord.
Yes, so much like last year, I believe it was at this point in time, I just wanted to reach out, and I probably should have just had this as an update rather than a report. The report will be to follow. I believe I brought that in October of last year, but I plan on bringing that most likely in September next month. And that will be the one with all the pictures and detail of projects that we did, numbers, etc. But because we do have, I mean, I know it feels like we are right there, but to myself, it's only August 12th, and we do have, you know, a few weeks to really start down, or a couple of weeks before we have to get the worry face out. So we have open projects, two capital projects that aren't completed. They're fully scheduled on time and will be completed prior to school start with no issue. But as far as the ins and outs, cleaning and the repairs, work orders, things of that nature, the summer to summer work, as I like to call it, we're in really good shape. And in all honesty, I feel at this point the facilities are looking better than what they did at this point even last year. We've done a lot of good, not necessarily aesthetic maintenance, but it is both aesthetics and ongoing preventative maintenance between painting and little revamps throughout the buildings and high vis areas. So just to slowly start tackling some of them to keep up on the buildings. Mostly in the elementaries, but the middle school, I shouldn't even say that. Really, all of them gotten a fair share of their fresh coats of paint. We had a few rooms in the high school that I'm not so sure I was even born the last time that they were painted. So, and those were noticed right away by staff that have been around the building, just because it enlightens the entire room. So, very little snippets there, but generally speaking, we're in good shape and confident we'll be ready for the school year.
So anything that is a bigger project right now, if heaven forbid something does happen where it gets delayed, is it, how would that impact the start of school, in a true worst case scenario?
Yeah, so one of them is the county line parking lot. That one kicks off, the curb work is done, the concrete work is done. To me, that's the most important, and usually the timely fashion to have that done. But since it is completed, the asphalt, it's a 2-day process between a rip out and repave. Again, that's given, even if there is a hiccup, maybe a 3-day. But as of right now, I was speaking with the principal there, and if something were to happen, I've already discussed with All Pro that if a weekend or nights were going to be a potential, that we'd like to knock it out ASAP, and they're fully on board, but they are extremely confident that they'll be completed. The roof, we actually got pushed back. I agreed upon that. They had a large project just because of that large rain span that we received. They had a couple offsets, but I agreed to push our schedule back for the 2 weeks because of the roof size and what was all entailed, and where it's located at MacArthur, that we would be just fine. So that starts off next week. Again, that's a 2 to 3 day tear off and relay. So, but again, worst case, I do have them between the exit 11 at MacArthur, and right where the first set of gym doors kind of jut out, that's where their stage is going to be, between their little lift and everything to get up, so they can stay in a pretty tight-knit area where, worst case, it really would just be a traffic control around that. Nothing too crazy. So that's good. The Kennedy HVAC, that one's running rather tight on the timeline. We had some movement between where we could structurally hold the rooftop unit, because it lands on a jointed area of three different years of add-on, a 56, the 68, and 91. It's all kind of a trifecta, and we were having some issues on which was which on the overlay and where exactly it had to lay out, due to where some of the electrical and conduit is running vertically from the referendum. It had a lot to do with it, but we have it figured out now. They're in full blown over there. They're going to start getting the pipe fitters and everything in there at the end of, or middle of this week into early next week. Drop the chiller off and install that, and then it's basically just waiting on the rooftop to drop with the crane. So again, that worst case, I talked with Ms. Gearin a little bit about it. There's a lot of space back there if we needed to kind of keep them in a restricted area where they wouldn't affect any student body. That's why we want that chiller area to be completely done, because that's where they come out for recess and everything. If it were to be, it's not going to be anything invasive going into the school year. So generally speaking, with all of those, we're always open to surprises when we wake up, but that's
Well, it sounds like weather.
Yeah.
We just hope for good
Right,
weather, and
right,
that's gonna
right.
help
Absolutely.
us out. So,
yeah.
any questions from the committee or other board members? Mr. Wolf.
There was a second roofing project, I believe, or no?
Rockfield, yes. Rockfield is complete.
It's done.
That one we actually got a call early. They had called and said they could be on site the next day because they had a cancellation. I jumped on that opportunity, and that one's in the back side of the building, so and obviously with no student body or teaching staff, it was a pretty quick turnaround. So that
Okay.
one is complete. We actually were able to identify 3 different demoed units from the last renovation that were not powered. They were all de-energized, but they were still left up there, so we took those off the roof and had that all bridged in. So it's a much cleaner roof now.
What was still in the roof?
There was two vents. One looked to be a larger, I don't know if it was a building vent with the way the HVAC was set up. The other one looked like it was more for a restroom style ventilation. And then there was a hatch that had nothing in it, but it had some in-house fabrication sheet metal going around it. I mean, looks like it's been caulked a few thousand times, but we didn't have any issues. But that's one less penetration that we have in the roof now, so.
Yeah, right. And at KMS, it's the compressor that's going out back just to the north of the building, ground level, or?
Yes, yep. That'll be a smaller chiller unit, not nearly the size of the one that's in the gated fenced area there right now. It was just that supplemental playoff between what we can get out of the current unit and added through the new.
Okay.
Yep.
Yep, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, thank you. 5C, Dreamfield dugout replacement.
Yes, so there's been I'm not so sure if I brought this up prior to this or not, but there was some talk towards the end of the season of the baseball season this year about the shape of the dugouts. I did attach a few pictures for reference. I could have taken a lot more. I'm bummed I didn't take the front retaining wall because that one is rather unsound. But ultimately, been working with the athletic director and a few others to see what we can do moving forward, because we truly feel that at this point it is a safety concern. I did have intentions on doing repairs at first, but given the all-around condition of the dugouts, I just don't think it'll be cost effective for the district to do so. Especially playing in the fact that we have no drainage in the current in-ground dugouts, which is, very little. Basically, I call it seep drainage. But if you don't have dry land around, it doesn't go anywhere for a while. So that just plays all into this. We did have I'm sorry, I forget what they're.
3 and 2.
3 and 2, thank you. I want to say 4
like
and 2,
full
thank
count.
you. Yep, 3 and 2, very good. 3 and 2, they sent some plans over a few builds that we could potentially move forward with, just as a example. It was more of like a Menards prefab setup, which not necessarily bad, but I think in the case of the dream field and moving forward, I don't think this baseball field is going to move at all. So I think getting something along the lines of what we had will be the longest lasting build that we can do. I've reached out to a few districts that have been doing some dugouts and had dugouts done recently, all the way up to this summer, just to kind of get some layouts and some contacts to move forward with. So the idea that we can move forward this, as soon as this month, next month, to the planning process. And I did add it to the 5-year capital due to the fact that it will be an investment in order to get to the point of what we need, but it will definitely be well worth it. So, and in moving into this, I'll just say if we ever ended up looking into getting artificial turf on the infield or anywhere around the baseball field way down the line, we're going to take that into consideration when it comes to drainage and building that in, just so that the table's somewhat set if we get to that point. So.
These are in need of dire repair. I don't know that even the photos do justice.
They really don't. I
There's
mean,
some
that's right.
structural issues. Frank joked about the water, but it's a real thing. When it rains, there's standing water in the dugout, and it takes a while to drain out. They've lasted their lifespan and some. So the 3 and 2 baseball club had made a nice donation to us to start this, and then we prioritized with Brittany and Sarah on how to make this a reality for this baseball season.
When were these originally installed?
I could not track it down.
Let's see, like all the step cracking, and then like
The front of the dugouts the concrete slabs are caving inward as well.
yeah. I'm just wondering. I mean, that's foundational at that point, isn't it? If you start seeing all that.
Yeah.
I think that's a big player in that lack of drainage, between freezing and thawing.
I
And it's,
doubt they have a foundation.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it. Yeah.
Probably
This-
just sitting
at that.
this
concrete poured on the ground.
upper right photo, are those vents in there, or is that where the brick and mortar is
Cubbies.
like coming away?
So there's sections that, I guess you can't zoom in on this one. There's sections that it was built in as a kind of a breather, so to say, but there were more, as you can kind of see down the center there. There were more in there, and those have slowly been falling out or they're getting pushed out. You'll find them kind of laying around it here and there.
Yeah, there's physical concrete block falling out the
Yeah.
back of the dugouts.
Yeah, and you
Or
can
pu-
see some
up
of
and
it.
pushed back in.
You can see some of it hung over the
Yeah.
edge.
Yeah.
Frank, is part of your plan to have some kind of drainage that goes to daylight?
Fully, yeah, and the idea is that I think we settled on doing the above ground between what the current head baseball coach and Sarah and a few others kind of decided towards. You know, it's always a tough one because we had in-ground. I'm an in-ground fanatic. If you can have it, it's great. But you know, that is also entails a little bit more work if we were to do this same design again. So we'll do, as we do that fill, and it gives us the perfect opportunity to do drain tile or a retention area or anything that, you know, we might need moving forward to make sure, if you've been up there, there is quite a bit of runoff in that entire coned area. So hopefully even to play in a little bit of landscape to make it, you know, as best as possible where the field benefits from the drainage as well.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. 5D, night lock safety shade update.
Yes, so this one I wanted to bring forward as we stamped that round of installs. I believe that was last week. My weeks are getting confused. 240 of the shades were installed with our maintenance staff. I have the picture there, kind of what they look like. They're a very simple, clean process. I think this is well, we truly believe this is a absolutely crucial addition to our safety precautions and practices. This was kind of that next level after having the night locks installed, was window coverings, you know, and being consistent for no matter which room you're in, you still have proper window coverings. So we do still have, I should say with that said, we do still have some of those rooms that are difficult, that aren't necessarily fit under the standard single door, pull it over the door window, or classroom style door, where I will kind of revert to some of the 2016 and 2018 renovations that have more glass. And we're working on some different ways that maybe we can go about, you know, creating a safer space without necessarily eliminating that glass and the function and the meaning behind it, you know. So, but this is great. I think it's going to be a great player in the ongoing drills that we have.
Questions, comments?
I think the referendum work, County Line and MacArthur, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Extra glass?
Yep.
Shades aren't.
There are in some areas, yeah.
There are.
The main big pieces of glass.
Yeah.
Some of the doors are glass fronted, so we have to look at a modified version of
Oh,
this.
okay.
And maybe even a half, I think we were talking about like a half, goodness, late on Monday, half fog or tinted on the lower half maybe, you know, something like a shower door might be, I guess is what my best example would be, and then maybe have the rest of it covered by one of these shades. There's a lot of options. That's something we could do in-house with no problem. But I just want to, it's something that we have on the safety committee that we'll bring up and hash out
On Friday.
on Friday.
Are we gonna have some sort of policy in place on these as far as when they should be opened or closed?
Yep, we're gonna discuss, we have safety committee Friday, and we're gonna put together kind of the guidelines for, as we've worked with local law enforcement, you should have during the working hour or at all times, visibility into classrooms, especially if you're alone with a student or the door's open and a student goes in the room, there should be visibility. It's laid out in the DOJ's school safety protocols as well, and so these are in the event we gotta drop it because there's, God forbid, an active intruder or other concern. So we'll work through those procedures, and we can report that back as we finalize this in a future building committee, what that looks like, or just to the board, given it's a safety procedure.
Tom, I'll put you a little bit on the spot. I know you go to a lot of our drills. How do you see this impacting that?
We definitely came across multiple rooms where the window covering wasn't sufficient to completely block your view, so hopefully getting something standard across the district. You know, if you've got especially if you've got like a teacher that might sub in one building one week and a different building, you know, another day, if it's the same kind of mechanism to drop that shade, I think that'll be very helpful.
Yeah. think
Or
it's-
you're in the hallway and you go into someone else's classroom, right?
Sure.
Same concept.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, cause in the past, I mean, it was, anything could be used, construction paper or whatever they might have had, a curtain that they
Yeah,
drew over
and
it, it was,
The couple that I've gone to, it's been, that was covered, this wasn't, this had like a table, like,
right. And,
propped up, or, they
and-
get creative, it's pretty interesting.
yeah,
but
and
then-
most did very well.
Yeah,
I mean, the windows, for the most part, were covered, the doors were barricaded.
yeah.
You know, I can commend our staff for taking care of that. This'll just help with those
Simplify it a little
couple
bit.
situations where some improvements are needed.
Awesome, thank
Anything else?
Do these operate like standard shades, pull it down and it locks and give it a tug to let it back up?
Just a Velcro flip and it drops
It's
straight down.
weighted at the
It's got a
bottom.
little weight in the bottom
Oh,
of it, so, and then it
okay.
just
So
rolls
just like
back up when
rolls.
you're done.
Mhm.
Okay. So not a standard shade?
Pull the string and it goes down and you get to where you need to be.
Okay.
Quick. Anything else?
Simple.
Simple, yeah.
All right, item 6, unfinished business, there is none. Item 7, new business, there is none. Item 8, I'll take one final motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Loth with the motion, Medved with the second, any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting ends at 4:56. Thank you.